speaker off. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me put these. I'm gonna try to put my headphones on. That's probably why it's saying speakers off. Is this?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you taking
How's
time
that?
on the show. Yeah, good. How about yourself? Welcome to the show. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you good now.
Okay, great. Well, right now we're welcoming Tyson Chartier from Top Game Management on the Fightlete Report. And I think you're one of the first management team we've had on the show, representative of a management team. So I appreciate you taking time, man. And, of course, the New England Cartel is who you're in charge of. You know, you've got many different fighters, of course, who are part of Top Game Management. And you're based out of New Hampshire. Very nice area. I've been up there before. And, of course, you manage Calvin Kattar, who is announced in the main event October 18th of UFC Fight Night Boston on ESPN. And I appreciate you taking time to be on the show.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me. We got Calvin will be co-headlining, so he'll be the co-main event.
Okay,
yeah. So same thing, but yeah, man, we're excited. We're kind of ending summer here, getting ready to bust into the fall and get some big fight camps coming up. So hopefully we can add a few more guys onto that Boston card, especially Kyle Bochniak and Rob Font. Both those guys got to fight on the UFC 220 card in Boston with Calvin last time. So we're hoping to kind of have a repeat.
Definitely. And you're looking to see them scheduled within the next month or so?
Honestly, I think we're trying to schedule them ASAP because we're a little over 2 months out. So
Sure.
If we can get bout agreements for both those guys now, then all three of those guys can be in camp together. It'll be great.
Definitely. And also talk about Top Game Management and what do you feel like you offer to clients that maybe other management companies don't?
I think, every management company kind of has a niche and what they're good at. And, my thing is a lot of the guys that I work with, I've been with since they were amateurs.
Okay.
We kind of grow up through the ranks together. And, we get the amateur fights and we turn them pro. And we really build almost like a brotherhood or a partnership. And, really have that personal connection. So a lot of the guys, the fighters I manage, I'm friends with them. I'm friends with their coach. I'm at a lot of those training sessions when we group up on Saturdays down at Lozon's. I see a lot of those guys at least, once a week on the mat. So it's not just a guy that they text or have a phone call with every now and then on the other end. It's someone that they see on the mats that, they can train with a little bit and get some FaceTime with.
Okay, that's very nice how you incorporate that. And like you said, you're at the gym, so you like to definitely work out and get boxing, jiu-jitsu, all that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 39 now. I've had neck surgery and I got some injuries and stuff. So, but I used to fight, so that's how I met all these guys. And I was training partners and then getting my own fights. And then little by little, I started getting them fights, and then it turned into Top Game Management. It was never like an intention of, hey, I'm going to be a manager. It's just there was a need that I filled for my friends, and then it turned into something.
Definitely. And then, of course, we talk about Calvin Kattar. How do you feel like he's going to do against Zabit Magomedsharipov in the co-main event of UFC Fight Night Boston? He's coming off the huge knockout of veteran Ricardo Lamas in Chicago. And so how do you feel like he's going to rise to the occasion and display, what he's known for, but, on a bigger scale, obviously?
Yeah, man, anybody that Calvin goes in there against, he has the ability to finish. Calvin's super well-rounded. Everybody knows about his stand-up and looks at him as like a knockout artist or whatever. But, he grew up a wrestler, and a lot of people don't know that. He's got good jiu-jitsu and, one of the hardest working guys in the gym. So, we're going to, me and the other coaches, we're going to sit down. We're going to break down a bunch of video, break down a bunch of film, discuss it with Calvin, and we'll have a plan going in there really where we can pick Zabit apart. He had a teammate fight him a couple years ago, Kyle Bochniak. And, I think that's, other than the Jeremy Stevens fight, that was the first time people kind of saw a chink in Zabit's armor. They were like, okay, maybe this guy's human. This guy is human. And, you could even argue Kyle won the third round, or I think he did. And so I think, we always say if that was a 5-round fight, Kyle wins the fight, And so fortunately, Calvin's going to get the chance to pay it forward and get that 4th and 5th round for Kyle and hopefully get that finish.
Yeah, definitely. And then you're Bochniak, of course, you want to see him on the card as well, so that way they could all train together and
all be perfect.
Knowledge.
Yeah, they all do strength and conditioning together. It's really good to have them in camp peaking for the same night, even if it's only strength and conditioning and a couple of random sessions here and there. having those three doing strength and conditioning together and like pushing themselves on the, the running and all the conditioning and the cardio stuff, it really is like good energy, and it's like makes camp a lot easier for everybody.
For sure. And, obviously Calvin Kattar, Rob Font, Kyle Botnia, they're all recognized fighters from Boston, but talk about the talent upcoming out of New England. Are you excited for that as well?
Yeah, man. We, if we're talking about like really young talent, this kid, Mitch Raposo, he's in the gym. I use him in camp for Calvin and Rob, when they have UFC fights coming up. 20 years old. He was 6-0 as an amateur. He's 1-0 as a pro now. He's fighting again August 24th for Cage Titans, so he's looking to go 2-0. He's like I said, he's 1-0 with the first round finish. Kid's good, man. He's UFC talent already. We just got to get his resume up there and build him up to the point where he's comfortable enough to get in the UFC, or his record looks good enough. So I mean, I think worst case scenario, next summer you see him on the Contender Series. The kid's a talent, and it just kind of goes to show where the sport of MMA is in general. This kid was 12 years old and was training MMA. And now he's 20 years old and trying to make a run. So it's cool to see these young kids come up, and they're so well-rounded. Like it's not like he's a wrestler who did MMA or a kickboxer who had MMA. Like this kid's an MMA fighter who's good at MMA. So it's kind of cool seeing guys like that come up.
Definitely. And then also another client of yours, Pam Sorensen, is going to be at Invicta FC this Friday. She's fighting for the women's featherweight title. So how do you feel like she's going to perform? And this is her second time, going after that belt.
Yeah, man, you look at her last fight. That was a back-and-forth fight with Felicia. And then you see what Felicia did to Megan Anderson. And then Felicia goes and fights Cyborg and went 3 rounds with her and looked respectable. So I think, Pam can beat anybody if she shows up, and she's super talented. I'm hoping that she gets this belt, and then, Mick will be interested in bringing her in. And, they need 45ers in the UFC. And I think she'd be a really good fit there, and she can find a home there. And if they absolutely need it, she's had talks about trying to go back down to 35 again, but that's up to, her team, and we'd all sit down and talk about that. But, all that matters right now is her getting that hand raised on Friday and that belt wrapped around her waist, and then we'll see what's next. But I'm super excited. I know I'm planning my day around it to make sure I'm home so I can watch the fight and, cheer on. So.
Definitely. And then also, what's your take on Cyborg? We know that Pam was one of the opponents that Cyborg told Dana she wanted to fight, and didn't want to fight him, take the fight against Nunes. So at this point, what do you think of that? Why did things break down between Cyborg and Management and Dana White? What's your whole take on that?
I don't know, man. There's always more to meet the eye. We hear a little bit of the story, and there's a lot more that goes on the back end. I think some of it is, just a little bit of media hype, and some of it is maybe, one side trying to put a story out there to try to get leverage or whatever. But I don't know, man. These things all go different. I'm not in that room with Dana and her team, so I can't even speculate. All I know is that, she has done a lot for women's MMA, and when she fights, I watch, So I'm hoping that she can, they can all resolve it. I'd love to see her stay in the UFC and fight, the best girls in the world. But if not, I'm sure that someone else will pick her up, and she'll, have a few more fights.
For sure. And now in Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series, you have Dylan Lockhart, who gets his opportunity on the 27th. So talk about how the series is crucial for finding new talent. I mean, is that really, something that you feel like you can get a lot of your fighters, into the UFC through?
They had, like I said, I'm not a big agency. I don't have 100 fighters under roster. I think we got 30. And this summer, 100 guys are going to fight, or 100 guys and girls are going to fight in the Contender Series, and I've had 5 of them. So, 5% of the roster for the best prospects in the country, not bad. I'm happy with that. So far, we're 1-1, and then we got 3 more coming up. So, and we got 1 contract. Yorgan De Castro's in. So, it's interesting to see how it plays out. I think it's an interesting format because I think it's definitely building prospects early. But it's interesting because I think some of the best fighters that are in the UFC now might not have done that well using that format, because it is weird. It's quiet. You walk out. It's like a bunch of pressure, and that's not really the same as the UFC debut jitters. Right. It's different. There's a loud crowd there. You get your walkout song. Like, this is a different animal. So I'm going to be interested to see how it really correlates over the years. Maybe it correlates amazingly, and the guys that they can weed through that process are the guys that can last in the UFC, and maybe not. I don't know. Like, I don't even really have an opinion yet. But I do know that some of the clients that I have are like, they're like, I would not have done well in that format. And they're doing well in the UFC now. So it's kind of interesting to see how the nerves are just so much different. But that makes it exciting in a different way. So, I love the format. It makes my Tuesday nights fun. I like watching the fights. They're young and hungry. And then it's cool for someone who's got 4 or 5 fights to be able to fight in front of Dana White. And then while they're fighting, like Dana says something about them. Like, that's a big deal for a young fighter.
That's true. And get to hear their stories and their background as well. Get more time to go to that. And what do you think of Yorgan De Castro? When do you think he's going to make his debut? Any news coming up for Yorgan? Because how about Dana White Tuesday Contender Series? He kicked it off with a huge knockout victory.
Yeah, he's actually making his UFC debut at UFC 243 in Australia on that big card.
Okay.
So he's fighting another UFC debuter. I think it's the kid's 3-0. He's from Australia. I want to say he's a kickboxer. He's like 12-2. I'm drawing a blank on the name off the top of my head, but he's a debuter as well. So, Yorgan's 5-0. This kid's 3-0. It's a comparable experience. We're fighting to Australia to fight an Australian, so that's a little bit of a disadvantage. But Yorgan's excited about it, man. He says he's going to do a shoey after he wins, so we'll see.
Oh, okay. Nice. I'm sure that's really exciting for him to be part of such a big card. And obviously, everybody recognizes him because he had the first knockout of the show, the first win of the show.
It's pretty cool for him to be the first fight ever in the new Apex Center.
Right.
The UFC had the very first fight, and then he got the first contract. It was pretty cool.
Definitely. And Andre Sukumtov is fighting as well in China at the end of the month. So talk about him being featured. Big international card, and, how do you feel he'll do?
It's a good matchup. He's training at American Top Team now. He's got a lot of beasts that he's training with. Guys like Lineker, Asuncao, Pedro Munoz. He's got a lot of really good grapplers to push him and work with some new coaches. And, I'm excited to see what he does with he's always had good training, but he not necessarily high-level guys his size. So I'm excited to see how he does in that, with the new team. And he's going to go out, I think, August 15th. He's going to go out early and try out the UFC PI out in China just to get acclimated to the time. Going to stay in the dorms there for 10 days, then head over to Fight Week. So that way he'll be a little bit more acclimated to the time change.
Oh, excellent. And obviously, he's excited to be part of that because he's also Asian background as well. So huge night for him to be in China for this fight.
Yeah, he's from Laos. He's he's excited to go out to China and perform in front of the fans there. I think that they he always claims that he's got a big Asian following, so I think he'll appreciate fighting in front of them. And every time you talk, it's it's a cool experience too. When he we said in 10, 15 years, he's got some kids. When they get older, they're going to be like, oh, how was it like fighting in China? And now he's going to be able to explain that. It's pretty cool to see him experience that. His wife's going to go out too. So it'll be a cool experience for him. And, he'll get that hand raised and then we'll move on to the next one.
For sure. Well, Tyson, I appreciate you taking time to be on the Fightlete Report. Everybody follow Top Game Management and all their successful fighters. And if you're anything you'd like to shout out, go ahead. It's your time to shout out anyone.
No, man, I always do a shout out to guys like you. I know you guys are grinding too. You guys are trying to put more eyes on this sport, which puts more money in the fighters' pockets. Any exposure is good exposure. So just keep doing your thing. And, everybody tune into what New England's doing. I think, a lot of people know about Jackson's, ATT, TriStar, all those big mega camps. But we got something brewing over here in New England. And I think October 18th, if we can fill that card, we're going to have a lot of guys, looking at New England and be like, what are they doing now? So we're excited.
All right, Tyson, appreciate the time and good luck to you.
Thanks, bro.
Anytime. Bye.